All right, good afternoon and welcome to the Midweek Connection. Now, what is the Midweek Connection? We try to do these things during the summer that keep you connected to what is happening here at Hillside, the ministries that are going on. And why do we do that? We do that because we know that you have a schedule during the summer that is a little bit abnormal from your fall and winter schedule with vacations and things like that. So we want to try to keep you connected to what's going on here at the church. We're going to be doing 2 of these a month during the summer. This is our first one. Our next one will be on June 30th, and then I'll let you know what the next dates are as we move into July. But with that said, we thought we'd take a peek in to one of the ministries here at Hillside that is near and dear to everyone's heart. And actually, when I first started working here, someone mentioned the mob to me, and I thought, wow, we have organized crime that works here at the church. And then I actually realized that was an acronym for Missions and Outreach Board. So what we thought we'd do is we thought we'd take a sneak peek in today with Missions and Outreach. Now, I have with me today our Missions and Outreach Director, Sarah Scheinermeyer, and our Leadership Council Chair and Missions and Outreach Board Chair, Brian Cartwright. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to these guys, and we'll get that conversation started. All right, guys, welcome.
Thanks for having us,
Welcome.
Travis.
Did I get names right?
You sure did.
I was sitting there stumbling. I was like, okay,
Yep.
ABC titles, blah, 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 right? So I introduced you, but why don't you introduce yourself and do a little better job than what I did?
Sure. I'm Brian Cartwright. My family and I have lived in Woodstock, Georgia for about 16 years and have been Hillside members the entire time. I've served on the mission board for a year and took over as board chair in January.
Awesome. And my name is Sarah Scheinermeyer. I am the new Director of Missions and Outreach at Hillside. I started back in November, but I grew up in the Woodstock area, grew up in Town Lake. I graduated from Etowah High School, and then I actually served for 6 years at Orphanage Emmanuel in Guaymaca, Honduras after a Hillside-sponsored mission trip.
Wow. All right, so that kind of brings me past the introductions to the why it is you do what you do, right? Everybody has a why. And I have my why, you have your why. Everybody has one. Even sometimes they don't even know what their why is. So I wanted to ask you guys that question as we get into the topic of missions and outreach here at Hillside. What's your why? Why do you do what you do? Why is your heart where it is with regard to missions and outreach?
Yeah, so I guess whenever I was growing up, kind of my first exposure to missions was really around family and friends and neighbors. It wasn't always volunteering. Sometimes it was voluntold.
Yeah.
But even along doing those projects growing up, it was just always surprising is how it just touched me, the difference that I could make for someone, or the difference that they could make for me along the way. And then, just as I grew in my faith, I still did a lot of those types of projects and was relatively active. And then when I was in business school, I also learned that some of the same skills that I was learning for my job might be helpful for organizations or managing a project.
Yeah.
And that really just opened my mind as to how many different things that you can do. And sometimes it's great to do things you're good at, and sometimes it's great to do things that you're not good at. And sometimes it's great to be there and just connect with people, even if you're not doing a whole lot while you're there. But all that just really I don't know, it just makes a difference in your life. And it's just great when, you can see the things God's doing and, when he speaks to you.
Now, before we do, Sarah, I hope our audience captured what you just said. Sometimes it's good to do things you're good at, and sometimes it's good to do things you're not good at.
Right.
Because a lot of times when it comes to this particular topic, when we talk about serving and missions, stuff like that, people go, oh, I'm not good at that kind of stuff. Right. So I hope you guys captured what he just said. Like, I wrote it down. I was sitting there thinking, man, I need to say something about that. So that's a jewel, a nugget. It's free. Didn't cost you a thing. Didn't cost you a thing today. So remember that. So go ahead, Sarah.
So I guess for me, my father is to this day still really involved in a lot of ministry. He was really active here at Hillside and did a lot of homeless ministry. So I kind of always grew up around that, but it wasn't ever really my thing. I was more interested in traveling and looking at things from I guess a more academic perspective. And one of my neighbors actually invited me to go on this trip at Hillside, at Cheryl Copley. And I said, sure, why not? But the moment I went, my whole perspective and world shifted. I had planned on going to law school before I went to Emmanuel, and actually remember being on my first trip and studying for my LSAT with my little headlamp on my bed. And it never occurred to me that would be a way of life. But when I went to Emmanuel for the first time, I guess I felt free and without a lot of pressure. And it was the first time I really felt the joy of God, of having God around. So I struggled with that decision for a really long time, of making a commitment to go there and a commitment to serve, because my practical and logical mind said, Sarah, you like to make money too much. Don't do that.
And you can do that with being a lawyer, right?
You can do that with being a lawyer, but eventually, and it took me about 2 years, I knew that God was calling me to go there. And so I kind of just said, well, I guess I'll give it a try and at least get it out of my system. But what I would say to why serve, as I was there, and I did a lot of stuff that I wasn't good at, like speaking Spanish for the first, 2 years.
I'm not good at that.
It's one of those learn as you go.
I know enough to get in trouble.
Yeah, that can be bad too.
Yep.
So I grew so much in my faith while I was there, because you really do, when you're doing stuff that you're not good at, you really do become dependent on where God leads you. And so I would say that for me, I serve because it brings out the best version of me. I think we're called to serve, and we all know that, but I think that part of the reason that we're called to serve is because it connects us with who God is. So that's my answer.
Well, those are both excellent whys, and if you're watching, I would encourage you, if you don't know what your why is, examine that, ask questions, do what it takes to actually learn that. And sometimes it takes some of these type of stories to get to a place where you understand your why. And once you understand your why, it actually takes you in a whole different direction on things. So I want to shift gears just a little bit. Midweek Connection is about keeping people connected, right, to the ministries and the happenings at Hillside during the summer. And we've got a lot of stuff happening. But before we get to what's actually happening, I know you guys are building like crazy toward the future, because we're coming out of COVID, and I say that with kind of fingers crossed. I don't even believe in that, but we're coming out of COVID, it feels like, and I know it had to be done differently during that season. But now we're shifting gears. It's almost like popping that clutch and hopefully not grinding gears, but dropping it right into the gear you need. So talk a little bit about the building for the future element as it pertains to missions and outreach here at Hillside.
Yeah, so I'll take that one. And so as you mentioned, as we're coming out of COVID and being able to do things a little bit more normally, we are trying to get back to the normal ways that we've served in the past. I mean, we've had a large My Hillside Serves event, and it's called My Hillside Serves instead of a Great Day of Service, because it shouldn't just be one day. We're trying to establish that pattern and build those connections out in our community to help on a regular basis. And so we are putting that, at least that initial event together, and we definitely could use leaders to lead the project and to serve on that steering committee. That's definitely a good way to get back into the swing of things. If you recall, we do a wide variety of projects, so that's also a really good way to pick a project that you feel led to participate in. That might be, again, something you're good at, or maybe something that you're not so good at. But we definitely need your help there. And the same thing with our Helping Hands ministry, and volunteers to get out and do those types of projects tend to be more handyman, construction, lawn care kind of things. But there's a tremendous need, and that can just make all the difference in the world if somebody's having a rough time. That whether they need a little help with that for a little while, or maybe it's even just, hey, this, the next couple of weeks I really could use some help, can really make a difference for people.
Yeah. So that's kind of like when I think about that, I think about the what ifs with people, right? Mm-hmm. You said a handyman because there's a lot of people out there who are not handy, right? Right? I'm handy at breaking things. No, I'm pretty handy, but there are other people that aren't handy, right? Like she just admitted to right here on a live broadcast. You heard it here. So are there ways for people like that to get involved?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there are plenty of opportunities. I'll let Sarah kind of go down through the list, but we've had projects in the past of making blankets for people who are in the hospital,
Right.
or even as simple as calling in, checking on people. There's anything that you feel led to do. I'm sure we can find a home for that.
Cool.
Absolutely.
So, you talk about building for the future, and then in order to get to the future, you have to have stuff happening today to get there, right? The future just doesn't go. I mean, it does. It does feel like that, but you have to have things happening to get you there. And I know we have a lot going on, right? We have a lot going on. So, Sarah, if you take a moment, talk about just what's going on in the summer, what's coming up, all that type of stuff, and how actually to get plugged into that. Because I think it's important for people to hear that. Because coming out of COVID, we've been used to just kind of like we're doing stuff, but we're not doing the stuff we used to do. And now we're getting ready to swing into full gear because there are needs out there left and right.
Sure. So as Brian mentioned, we're planning to build up our service ministry. What you can do now, we've got a lot of stuff going on at Hillside as it is. So Brian mentioned the crochet blankets. We have our Hugs ministry, and they meet every other Tuesday. So if you like to crochet, there's something for you. We have our benevolence program, Good Sam. So what we do with that is reach out and help people that are in the community that are maybe struggling with some of the financial needs. So that's always available to donate to. As far as service, so what we've got coming up here at Hillside on July 17th, we have Give a Kid a Chance.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with that if you're not familiar with that organization, what they do is provide backpacks and school supplies to low-income families in Cherokee County.
Yeah.
It's typically been a really big event here where kids can come get haircuts and dental exams, audio exams. They don't feel comfortable enough to do that yet this
Right.
year, so it's still going to be the drive-through model. What you can do is put together a backpack. And those are really, really super important. One thing that you could do with that is maybe get some of your neighbors involved and say, hey, as a family or as a neighborhood or as a street, let's put together one backpack.
Right.
And you bring the markers, you bring the scissors or whatever it is. It's something that you could really build community around. If you want to get involved that way, you can go to our website. It's hillsideumc.org/backpacks. And the instructions to put one of those bags together is on there, and the drop-off deadline is on July 2nd. There's there's tons of organizations that have been working through the pandemic and continue to work that reach out to different demographics in the community that you can always get involved with and always volunteer with.
Right.
One that's super close and near and dear to our heart, of course, is Forever Fed.
Mm-hmm.
Forever Fed, their home base is actually here at Hillside. And they do food pantries every Thursday here, but also at different locations on Saturdays. And they are always looking for volunteers to help during the week packing boxes, but also to help host their events when families come and actually pick up their food. So
Which is an incredible thing to be a part of.
Yeah.
I slipped in by accident to one of those.
It really is.
Yeah.
And one of the neat things is the sense of community that you see out there. Like the folks that come, they know each other, they know the volunteers. Right. It's a special thing to be a part of. So if that's something that you're looking to get involved with, all you need to do is go to foreverfed.org to sign up. You can sign up online as a volunteer. There's always opportunities. I know, Brian, you could probably speak to this more at Must.
Yep, absolutely.
They need volunteers.
Yeah, so Must is a large organization that's based in Cobb and Cherokee County. So they need help with their homeless shelter, doing laundry, and members of Hillside participate in that. Our Breaking Bread ministry coordinates to make meals there. We're a hub for summer lunch. So that's something that's been in our community, and typically serves 300,000 lunches just in Cobb and Cherokee County during the summer. I mean, it's an amazing number of kids that we touch with that. So, and even just collecting and stocking and moving around donations and getting the right things to the right people. So there's definitely plenty of work that the Must folks do. And at least one very quick funny story is we were doing breakfast and I was on a crew with a lot of people in my company, and they all happened to be from the upper Midwest. And there was one morning that they came in with about a 5-pound bag of grits and says, we don't know anything about this, Brian, but we figured you did. So if you'll teach us how to make grits, we'll make sure we have them every week.
They were cream of wheat folks, weren't they?
They were cream of wheat, yes. But you might even find yourself in missions helping people to learn how to make good grits.
Yeah.
You just truly never know where you'll find yourself.
Truth.
For
Truth.
real. But yeah, there's a lot of great organizations in this community. We have God's Garden. That is run by David McFarland, but there's a lot of...
So what do they do?
So what they do is they plant and harvest vegetables, and it's near the Never Alone campus.
Okay.
And they provide that fresh produce to different pantries in different areas that need it in Cherokee County.
Well, yeah, that's cool. I didn't know that they did that.
Yeah.
I learned something new.
And actually, that God's Garden was started by my dad.
So I knew that.
So
I knew
shameless
that you started,
plug. But they do a lot of good work, and they are, I know, always looking for people to help harvest and transport what they give out. There's also Encompass Ministries that used to be Papa's Pantry. It's right around the corner from us on Bells Ferry, and they also provide food assistance, but job training. And they have what they call their Master Skills class. So that's a really great organization to get involved in. But there are tons. If you have a passion for children, there's Turnaround Ministries. If you have a passion for working maybe with folks with disabilities, Next Step Ministries. There's something for everybody, and there's something for as young as you can be and as old as you can be. There is no age limit. There is something for you to do. There's something that you can do, and I can tell you from experience that it will make your life so much more joyful to get involved with stuff like that. So
something for everyone, something to do, even if you're not good at it. I bring back to that point. Right? Try it even if you're not good at it. Now I want to switch gears real quick before we close out and talk about some of our foreign mission trips. So I know with COVID we haven't been able to do those, right? Because COVID hasn't just been a local thing, right? It's been everywhere, right? And so people have been taking precautions, and some of the places we go and the countries aren't receiving and whatnot. But I know that there are plans in the making for that to ramp back up. So speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it breaks anybody's heart, it breaks mine to not be able to go to Honduras. It's my country. So we're really sad to do it, but because of COVID protocols and just keeping everybody in our Hillside family, but also in the ministries that we would serve, keeping them safe and protected. But we are looking towards 2 trips in 2022. They're both to Honduras. One is to San Lorenzo Valley.
Okay.
And that is kind of, that component it's got a construction building component, but also VBS, and just really going to get to know the people in the community and talking to them, praying with them. That trip is headed by Linda Wilson. Okay. So if that's something, be thinking about it, be praying about it, and if that's something you think you might want to get involved in, please reach out to her.
So everything you're talking about right now, we'll have more information about that as it gets closer to it. Because I know some people out there were probably like, "Ooh," immediately.
Yeah, right.
Put it on your notes with a little exclamation mark, so you don't forget it, and just keep tuned in. So.
Right. And then the other one is Orphanage Emmanuel that happens in September over fall break. And so that is an Orphanage Emmanuel has at any given time 400 to 500 kids living in its campus. They live there, they go to school there, that is their home. And so Hillside goes down there, and sometimes they usually have a project. One year they built, it wasn't fun to watch, I didn't work on this, but they built sewer lines.
Oh yeah, that doesn't sound...
Yeah, they built sewer lines near what I came to learn was called the Black Waters.
So even if you're not good at it,
you can do it. And then there's also we would do kind of a VBS. They do devotions every morning with the kids, and the Hillside team would lead those devotions. We made cookies and decorated them. Some ladies sew, some ladies organize. It's one of those trips where there's something for everybody.
Yeah.
That happens in September, so be praying and thinking about that too.
So before we close out, I want to put you guys on the spot. Oh. Right? This isn't in their notes.
Oh no.
I like doing this to folks. So I know that you personally probably have hundreds of stories that you could tell about how getting involved in something like this has impacted the life of someone. right? We don't have a lot more time, but if either one of you have one of those stories you'd like to just share real quick about how that truly impacted, like what you were able to see, witness, or maybe it was you, I don't know, right? But I'm going to put you on the spot, and if either one of you would like to share one of those, I think our audience, I know I would love to hear it, but I think they would too. So
Yeah. I won't do the story justice. I'll try to be brief, but we had a guest speaker at one of our Must board meetings one year, and it was a young lady who was about 16, and told her story, and she had a rough family situation. The mom left. The dad was sitting in the basement playing video games, doing illegal substances, and was not taking good care of her and her little brother. And she found out from a neighbor that she could go somewhere during the summer and get lunch. And so, that's the summer lunch program that, we all know about. Mm-hmm. And, their situation got worse. Actually, a lady down the street adopted them, adopted she and her brother. And a couple years into that, there was an event at the church, and they went to go make lunches. And she basically is telling the story about, she said, and I was there for probably like 45 minutes packing these lunches. And she said, it just hit me that I was making lunches for the same program that kept us from not being hungry in the summer. And that there were days that was the only thing I got to eat all day. And, just to watch a room of 30, really smart, intelligent, kind people, we were almost all in tears. But just that full circle of how she was the beneficiary of the program, and it was actually found herself making the lunches that they received. I mean, that was just really, it's just amazing how all that works, and just how God's hand is in that.
Yeah, that's it. There you go. That's incredible. That drives home the importance of getting involved, because a lot of times people will and we have it on our list, what can you do, is pray. A lot of times people will pray that God will answer those prayers, but sometimes you're the answer to that prayer, right? And getting involved has an impact more than you know, just like that story. And there's probably many, many other stories that we could share right now, and you probably have them yourself watching. But before we go, we had in our notes here to talk about how to do things right now, what to do right now. If there's not something that's really jumping out to you to get involved with, what are things that can happen right now? As far as, we said pray, but also knowing that you may be the answer to that prayer. What are some other things?
So definitely pray. Definitely pray for missionaries by name. If you go on the Hillside website, you can find a list of our missionaries, but there are missionaries that serve in all parts of the world. Pray for them by name and try to get to know what they do and who they serve. The next thing I would say is give. When you give to missions and outreach, when you give to the church, it allows us to be able to support great organizations like this. Right. And then go. That's really what a lot of it is about. Breaking out of kind of what we feel is comfortable, and taking that first step. And it can be scary. It can be intimidating. But all it just takes is one split decision to say, I'm going to do it. And the next thing I would say, and to me this is so important, because if it hadn't been done, my life would have been on a completely different trajectory, and that's invite people. If you are connected with, serving with a ministry, then you are its best advocate. You're its best cheerleader. And you are the one that can get maybe people even outside the church connected in that way. So that's what I would say. And inviting is so important, because I might be an unhappy lawyer if if somebody had not invited me to go on a mission trip. It's key. It's crucial.
Awesome. Anything you want to add?
No, I think that sounds great. We appreciate you having us.
Thank you guys for being here for our very first one. And so as we wrap up, what I'd like to say is this. We hope you've enjoyed today's content. Our next Midweek Connection will be on June the 30th, and it's going to be on the topic of growing and staying in that mindset of spiritual growth during the summer, because it can be difficult sometimes with the way our schedules become and how they work out. So that's going to be our next one, and it'll be on June 30th. And I want to remind you, if you'd like to get more information about what you've heard today, or some of the options for getting involved, you can go to hillsideumc.org. You click on Connect, and there's a little button that says Serve. And if you click that, you're going to see a lot of what was talked about today, and you can actually look at the ways to get involved there. So until next time, this has been the Midweek Connection. We hope you have a blessed day.